He just wants to buy a charger, but it's so hard.
这部手机来说呢，你的汽车充电器有美国原厂的，有日本的，有中国的，你要哪种？
美国的。
有图案和没图案的，你要哪种呢？
有图案的。
我们有蝙蝠侠、宾尼兔，还有翠儿，你要哪种呢？
你再问下去的话，我就发火了。
My mobile phone is about to run out of battery. The clerk is still gossiping with his colleague.
充电器啊！
就来了，等一会儿啊。
Locke can't wait. He had to get the charger before the machine was switched off, so he took out the pistol in his pocket and fired a shot. The clerk was so shocked. He didn't say a word. He took out the charger and gave it to Locke. The reason why Locke was in a hurry, because he received a call to save his life. He hung up and couldn't get through. The caller was a woman. She was kidnapped this morning. The robbers kept asking for the tape, but Sue had just returned to China. He'd never seen the tape. The robbers said it's your brother's fault. He recorded something he shouldn't have. When we find him, he'll let you go. By the way, your daughter will be out of school soon, right?
我求求你，别碰他！求求你别碰他！
如果你现在想你弟弟在哪儿，或者东西在哪儿，马上告诉我。
The robber turned his head and left. Sister Sue is a smart person. Instead of being afraid to scream, she should think of more ways. Seek help or escape. But looking around, the windows of this cabin are sealed shut. All that's left is a pile of discarded tools and parts. But there was a surprise. There was a landline phone on the wall. He was about to go get the robbers. And then suddenly, he's back on his heels. A shovel smashed the phone to pieces to cut off his escape, but the robber would never have thought. Sue is an engineer by profession. As long as the electronic components are not broken, he can fix it. Look at this broken wire. He cut off a piece of spare cable and found a connector. He fixed the phone in a couple of tries, but there's a big problem. The phone's motherboard was damaged. Even if you get through to the phone, it's a random, unfamiliar number. But if there's a chance, there's hope. I don't know how many times I tried. The phone finally answered, and the person who answered the phone was Locke. Of course, she didn't dare to be slow. Hurriedly told her the whole story. But this strange thing, no one would believe. Besides, Locke had to go to the airport to see his son off. He divorced his wife. This time he's sending his son to live in his mother's city. The next time he wants to see his son, I don't know how long it will be. Hearing Locke's impatience, Sue hurriedly said, I know you don't trust me, but I'm sure you're a good person. Please, just give the phone. Just give it to the police nearby. Listening to his anxious tone, Locke was a little skeptical, so he found a traffic cop on the side of the road and gave him the phone. But who knew that at this critical moment, the robbers suddenly came back. Sue didn't dare to make a sound. She could only cover the phone with her clothes. But there was no movement on the phone. The traffic police thought Locke was playing a trick on him, but the police had just left. There were fierce shouts from the phone. The robbers brought in another guy. He's a good friend of his brother, but he didn't know anything. He didn't tell us anything useful, so he's worthless. All this happened too real. Locke had to believe. The woman was really kidnapped. He wants to report it to the police. But the robbers just said on the phone, they're going to arrest Sue's daughter. If there's one more minute of delay, the little girl will be in more danger. After a moment's hesitation, Locke decided, save the girl first and then call the police. Luckily, the school wasn't far from him. Locke quickly rushed over, but the problem was he didn't know the girl. Sister Sue immediately gave the information that her daughter was 5 meters tall. She wears a ponytail. There's a rabbit in her hair. The little girl has been found, but it's still too late. A group of robbers came out and kidnapped her. Locke didn't think too much and drove after them, but it was the afternoon rush hour. The road was blocked just before we reached the intersection. He saw the robbers running farther and farther away. Locke gritted his teeth and smashed through the iron gate. He chased after them through the path by the river, but the road is not easy to walk. Every now and then, there's a big puddle. It was full of puddles. When he came out again, he flew into the next road. The car was turned upside down. Luckily, Locke wasn't seriously hurt, and his mobile phone was still on the line. But then a gun fell out. Locke was shocked. The gun was used by a friend to run away. Before he could take it away, the car was driven by Locke to pick up his kids. But the gun was convenient. When the drivers saw him with a gun in his hand, they're not looking for trouble. Locke was in a hurry to rescue the child. He grabbed the car on the side, ready to continue the pursuit. But even he doesn't know why he was so desperate in the face of strangers. He used to be be an ace in the serious crimes unit. He worked his way down to traffic cop because of his determination, so he always skipped reporting to his superiors. It's not uncommon for him to act on his own and break the rules. For example, he suspected that a woman had been kidnapped, so he wanted to go to her home to investigate. But there was no evidence and no search warrant. Wei had no choice but to climb over the wall. As the saying goes, you can't be too careful with small things. But I didn't expect an accident. Inside the house was a mess. There was also a recently dead body. At that moment, a woman approached him slowly. She shot him in the back. Luckily, Wei hid in advance. He pushed the woman into the pool. When they came out again, both sides are ready to shoot. The danger was solved, but when the police took over, not only did not give Wei credit, instead, he was given a demerit by his superiors for overstepping his authority to enforce the law. Wei didn't care. He only told his boss, I received a call for help from a man. He said the owner of the house had been kidnapped. I didn't believe him at first, but when I got here, I was sure it was true. The most important thing now is to send a task force to investigate immediately. However, this boss has been treating people differently. Wei had no choice to mobilize a task force. We need substantial evidence, and the clues are all gone. The only hope is to find Locke, the man who reported the case to him. But now Locke is in danger. He overheard the robber's message. He said he found his brother's location. He's in this hospital. He has to get his brother out. But the robbers arrived with him. Locke didn't dare to look at them. He could only follow the robbers quietly. Seeing that the destination is getting closer and closer, Locke was quick to think of something. When a group of policemen were patrolling, he threw his gun into the robbers' faces. The two sides were at loggerheads, but then the boss pulled out an ID. He said he's Interpol on a mission. Locke was baffled. A group of kidnappers and murderers are Interpol. The whole thing is getting confusing, but Locke couldn't think of anything else. He'd better save his brother first. The clue is room 7. Locke dragged the patient away without saying a word, but when the patient answered the phone, both parties were dumbfounded. It turns out Locke dragged the wrong person. The robbers were talking about bed 7, not room 7. By the time he reacted, the robbers had already taken his brother. Locke didn't give up. He followed the robbers to Feihe Mountain. It's a beautiful place with a great view. It's a gathering place for aerial photography enthusiasts. This is where my brother. He inadvertently recorded them smuggling and drug trafficking, the whole process of killing people. But the robbers also found out. My brother panicked. When he ran away, he left his backpack on the mountain, and the tape was inside. After a group of people searched, finally found the backpack on the mountainside. Just as the boys were handing it over to the boss, Locke suddenly rushed out. He grabbed the backpack. Then he rushed down the mountain without caring about his safety. Locke believed that compared to his brother's life, this tape was what they wanted most, and the most valuable bargaining chip. As expected, the robbers chased him like wolves. In order to save his life, Locke jumped down. He slid straight down his body. When he came out again, he lost the robber, but it also cost him his life. But there is a bad news. During the escape, Locke's mobile phone broke. He lost contact with Sue. Even if we get the tape, what's the point? If we turn it over to the police, Sue and her family would be dead. But if we exchange the tape for hostages, Locke doesn't have the robbers' contact information, but there's no way out. He found something else in his backpack. It was his brother's mobile phone. Locke didn't hesitate and dialed Sister Sue. He believed that the boss must have Sue's mobile phone. Locke was not polite. He asked Sue to pick up the phone. He asked her to pick up the phone to check if they were still alive. Seeing the boss's hesitation, Locke hung up the phone. He wanted to take a gamble. Boss Black doesn't dare to kill. Then he could take the initiative in the negotiation. Sure enough, Locke was right. Boss Black's attitude changed immediately. He handed over the phone to Sister Sue. When he heard that Sue's family was still alive, Locke didn't ask any more questions. He just left a message. He said, if something happens to me, please tell my son. Tell him that his father is a hero who does what he says he'll do. These last words were full of determination, because he knew that the next plan would be fatal. He told the boss to go to the airport to make the deal, because it's safer here. As long as Sister Sue and her family are released, he will hand over the tape. The boss will definitely agree. But on the way to the airport, he sent a text text message to his men, as soon as he gets the video, he'll kill Locke without leaving him alive. But Boss Black never expected. One of his men died, the mobile phone fell into Y's hands, and everything he sent to his men, Y could see everything. This is the last time he'll see his son. Before he said goodbye, Locke just wanted to send his son off to live abroad. But just as he was approaching, a robber appeared. He cut off their contact. Locke didn't dare to go any further, because he's here to make a deal with the robber. He wants to trade a videotape with evidence of a crime, in exchange for the lives of Sue's family. If he's exposed, not only will the deal fail, but also his own family. Locke called the boss. He told them that the location of the deal had been changed to a car park. To get rid of them, most importantly, he wanted to talk to his son. He's still gone. Locke's heart stung like a needle. He knew he wasn't a good father. That's why he wanted to be a good father. Locke made up his mind. He was going to fight the robbers to the end. He first went to the roof of the building. He asked the robbers to drive around, to make sure Sue's family is still alive. But I didn't realize that in his haste, Locke made a fatal mistake. Locke saw Sue, but he also revealed his position. 2 robbers arrived immediately. They jumped on Locke and pinned him to the ground. In the nick of time, police officer Y arrived in time to save Locke. The robbers wanted to continue to chase him, but he didn't realize that Y had brought a lot of men with him. A large number of policemen came to control the situation. The robbers were all taken away. Locke's heart dropped. He came to the washroom. He handed over the hidden videotape to the lead inspector. But what he didn't expect was, just got the evidence. The inspector's attitude immediately changed. He started to give Locke a cold shoulder. Locke was just talking and laughing. Why did he suddenly change? But then everything became clear. It's over. They're all in cahoots. There's no escape this time. The boss not only deleted the evidence, he even sent a text message to his men. He wants to kill all the witnesses, including Wei, the policeman. But the boss never thought. One of his men's mobile phone was in Y's hand, and he saw the content of the SMS. Y understood everything instantly. He hurriedly shook off the robbers around him. At the last moment before Locke was killed, saved him again. While both sides were fighting, Locke hurriedly escaped through the back door. He hid in a warehouse. Boss Black is smart. He knew Locke wouldn't come out, so he took out his mobile phone and dialed Locke's number. They chased each other. They lost their way on a shelf. Boss Black raised his leg and kicked him. He kicked Locke out of the air. However, good people will be rewarded in the end. Locke not only didn't die, instead, he pulled on a net and survived. The other end of the net was under the black leader's feet. On the other side, Y's life is still in danger. The inspector was trying to run him over with his car. Luckily Y reacted in time. He dove into the wardrobe. That's how he was able to save his life. With a pistol slowly poking out, the inspector's life came to an end. So far, all the bad guys in the dark and in the light have all been punished. Seeing Sue's family safe, Locke smiled happily. This was the first time they saw each other's faces. Their hearts were filled with gratitude. Sister Sue was grateful for Locke's kindness. A person who is willing to come forward and work hard for it, even life, is a gift from heaven. And what Locke is grateful for this sudden farce. He is also an ordinary person. He also had doubts about what happened to Sister Sue. But the difference is, Locke's kind instincts made him believe in his heart that it was true. Then he did what he thought was right step by step. There's a kind of person whose life is ordinary. He's always doing nothing, but he can always stand up for himself in times of crisis. He's a hero among the common people.